Good adventures, everybody. I'm Melissa Bonzak, and welcome to episode 150 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with authors you should be reading. And today, it's people you should be listening to. This is my audiobook narrator for my June Nash series, Cassandra Medcalf. And I'm going to include a little clip right here for you to hear how great she sounds.
I put my weight on the door handle and did my best to swing myself out of the car. I might as well have slid out. My dress ended up around my waist anyway. As I tugged it back over my hips, I glanced over my shoulder to yell at Crotch Guy for looking at me, but he wasn't. The jerk gunned the gas, and the van took off for the other side of the cemetery. I tiptoed across the road and perched on a strip of concrete that formed a sort of bench along a section of the fence. A little sign above me announced the visitation hours, sunrise to sunset. I guess the dead didn't like to chat after dark. I dug my cell phone out of my purse to keep an eye on the time. I'd give it 15 minutes. 8 minutes proved me wrong. It started with crunch, crunch, crunch. Someone was running. Nearby. On gravel. "You see him?" It was a whisper. Loud. Female. Probably drunk. Another voice whispered back, "Hey, over here!" A light blinded me. A voice shouted, "Good adventures!" And I shielded my eyes. Oh. The voice was ripe with disappointment. It's just her. For some reason, the Doozers didn't like using my name, like they thought it amplified my powers over them. The light dropped down, and I caught a brief glimpse of my brother's face smiling back at me from a hat that covered the woman's head. I gave her a small wave. "Hi." So much for Crotch Guy and his 10% of 10% math. While it was plausible that 2 of Dewey's fans might kill me and bury me in the convenient cemetery, it wasn't going to be much of a distraction. Motorboat Guy and his friends would have no problem watching Crotch Guy and my murder at the same time. The woman's friend aimed the light from her phone past me, then back to my face. "So, where's Dewey?" She tried a little too hard to sound casual. I shrugged. "I'm on vacation." The woman with the hat smirked at me. "I know he's here." Because you can't pull anything over on a doozer. The woman raised an eyebrow at me. Had I said that out loud? "The cabbie insisted that Dewey was here." To prove me wrong, she held out her phone. There was the photo that Crotch Guy had just posted. I squinted at my shiny blue dress and confused expression. Below it, the text read, "Just dropped you-know-who off at the cemetery. She met a guy with a snake hook. It was dark, but is Dewey in town?" Blast. Doozers who hated me were one thing. Doozers who thought they were about to have a close encounter with my brother were another. This could get ugly fast. A high, squeaky voice blurted out, "Maybe he's in the cemetery." I looked up. The 2 women had turned into 6. Geez, they traveled in packs. While they aimed their cell phone lights at the dark patches around the tombstones, I took a step to one side. They didn't notice, so I kept going. It wasn't like I could run in my dress. It was too tight. But all Crotch Guy said he needed was a distraction. A lot of nutty women chasing me qualified. "Hey!" a voice shouted. "Where's she going?" I made the mistake of looking over my shoulder. Those 5 had morphed into Crotch Guy's 10%, and more were streaming out of the little neighborhoods around us, all headed this way. I'd had enough of being a distraction. Crotch Guy would have to think of something else. I yanked my skirt up another inch, kicked up my speed, and headed for the van, which was now gone. Blast. When had he skipped out? Where was I going to? Wait. There was a building that had been hidden by the van. It didn't look like the rest of the neighborhood, probably because of the fence. Tall, chain link, very industrial, safe. Though that might have been because of the guard who was staring at me with wide eyes. I got to the keep out sign, and he shined his flashlight over my shoulder. "What the—" "Let me in! Let me in!" I yelled. He fumbled with his keys, and I had visions of the mob catching me and making lamps out of my thighs. He got the lock on the 3rd try, and I was yanked through. The first Doozers arrived, and he slammed the gate shut. It was like a zombie movie. Fingers trying to reach through the links, Doozers climbing the fence, cell phone camera flashes blinding my eyes, and the horde screaming their collective love for my brother. 2 spotlights lit up the mob as a second guard appeared, wearing a gas mask and holding some kind of sci-fi-looking machine gun, which seemed extreme, even for Doozers. "Are you going to shoot them?" I yelled. He pushed me back and a mechanical voice crackled out of his mask. "It's a pepper ball shooter. Been dying for a crowd control situation." I let the first guard drag me back toward the building while the one with the gun strode to the fence and aimed at the ground to his left. He pulled the trigger again and again, swinging his weapon left to right. White puffs of smoke exploded out of each impact point in the driveway. When the cloud hit the Doozers, it turned into a whole lot of welt-inducing, eye-tearing, snot-blowing, respiratory-abstracting fun. For the guard, anyway. He danced around, pretty pleased with himself. I didn't realize I was smiling too, till the Doozer with the hat, who had somehow avoided the cloud, shouted a few of my favorite words at me. Uh-oh. She was taking photos. I had a feeling that the admins for IHateJuneNash.com were going to be busy for the next few hours. And I was pretty sure that none of the stories that they were about to get were going to mention the fact that I wasn't the one who fired the shots. 10 police cars, 5 ambulances, and 3 hours later, the mess was cleaned up. Doozers who weren't taken away crawled back under their rocks. Neighbors drifted off to their houses, and I found myself all alone outside the locked gate, still tucked into the blanket that an EMT had wrapped around me. Because of my trauma, which I didn't feel at all, it had actually been a bit therapeutic for me, seeing the Doozers get what they deserved. But since it was almost 3 a.m. and I was in a sleeveless short dress, I happily faked some distress to stay warm. A familiar roo echoed in the deserted streets, and I looked over at the cemetery. Crotch Guy was leading Cyrano my way. I'd almost forgotten that this all happened because of a dog. "It worked?" I asked. He nodded once. When they reached me, I crouched down and hugged Morgan's hound. "Did you finally arrest those guys?" Crotch Guy ignored me and started walking away. "Hey!" I tugged on Cyrano's leash and followed. "You just gave those guys back their drugs?" He nodded. "And you didn't arrest them?" "My people are on it, yeah," I finished. "So what now?" "We're done. There's my ride." A taxi pulled up, and Crotch Guy yanked open the door. He paused and looked back at me. "And Miss Nash?" "I know. We won't be seeing each other again." "No. You might want to fix your dress." I looked down at my exposed hips. Blast. I really needed to get some underwear.
To celebrate Cassandra being on the show, I'm going to go ahead and put the audiobooks that I have on my site on sale. So for 50% off, you can get any of the audiobooks from the June Nash series. And all you have to do is click on the link in the show notes, and then you're going to put Cassandra as the code at checkout. So the interview, we talked about the June Nash books. We talked about audiobook production. We talked about her latest book. She's also an author. Her latest book is a Minotaur romance that was on a Kickstarter, and she funded in 1 hour, which is amazing. And she gives tips for Kickstarter, which I thought was awesome because I'm doing a Kickstarter later in the year. We also talked about in-person shows. We were both at Rewind Book Fair back in April. And she had some great tips on table setups that some of the things I hadn't really thought about. So until she mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. So she was an awesome interview. Go ahead and have a listen, and I will see you after. I want to welcome Cassandra Medcalf today to the show.
Hello!
I am going to read her bio. Okay. So Let's see. She's a professional audio engineer and voiceover artist with over 100 titles on Audible and a bachelor's degree in audio production. And that's why my June Nash books are so amazing because she narrates them. She lives in northern Minnesota with her adorable husband, and I have met him, and he is adorable. And they're even more adorable dogs, and I haven't met them, so I have no clue. Her home studio boasts a full-size a full suite Pro Tools setup and a Studio Bricks VO booth, and that sounds really amazing. She has everything she needs to make your audiobook sound as good as possible. In addition to narrating, she offers audio consulting for new narrators and post-production services for dialogue and audiobooks. And she's also an author, and we will talk about that because her books are very good and you'll want to read hers also. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. Yeah, I have a ton of audio stuff on my website. It's not as much of what I do anymore as far as like the post-production stuff, although I did just get to edit a like duet like with sound effects audiobook for a friend of mine who does sentient object romance, and it was wild. And that should be coming out soon. And it's insane. And that was really fun. That was my first time doing like more of like a graphic, fully produced audiobook since like college when I used to do film design. So that was really fun.
Those are so much fun to listen to. And before I forget, anybody who follows my June Nash books, in book four, there's a theme song which a musician wrote, and then Cassandra recorded and performed the theme song. And it's absolutely amazing. And I'll put a link in the show notes to the YouTube video where you can hear the song.
I have friends narrator friends who, when they're having a bad day, they'll reach out to me and they'll be like, can you send me the link to that like unicorn song again that you recorded just to remind me that like this job can also be like just the most fun ever?
Yeah,
They love it. They love it.
I love the song. I love it so much.
It was
And
great. It
yeah,
was so
it had
fun.
started as just a couple of lines in one of the books in book four, How to Stroke Your Stray. And my friend who was a touring musician in the 80s, she's like, that could be a theme song. Why don't you let me write something? And I sent her the chapter. She sent me back the song, and then I contacted you. And yes, you are a singer also.
It
So
it was such a fun song. It was so fun to record. And that one I think I still had TikTok then and I was recording it live on TikTok. And so many people were like, "What is this? Wait a minute. Who are you? What is going on?" It was such a blast.
so much fun. Yeah. So I see you have a degree in engineering. Did you get into it with the idea of doing audiobooks, or was there a different path that you were taking that led you to audiobooks?
Yeah, I've been on quite the journey and the path. So I kind of have two degrees because I was originally an English major, which was already a backup from wanting to be a theater major. And I had auditioned for the acting school. I got into a bunch of really great programs, but it was right after the financial crash. So no one was giving financial aid for the arts after in 2009. Like no one was doing it. So
Yeah.
so I had to that was part of the draw to science, like a Bachelor of Science instead of a Bachelor of Arts. With engineering, I knew I could get a better scholarship for it once I was out of college. And so that was part of it. But then the other part was I ended up rushing for the college radio station because I wanted some way to like act or like be involved in something. And radio, they were going to be doing like a radio drama for the first time. And so I showed up at Radio Rush Night being like, I hear you're doing a radio drama. And they're like, oh, well, we haven't figured that out yet, but you've got a good voice. Do you want to just sign up for a radio, like a DJ shift?
Nice.
And so I started DJing and I loved it. It was a blast and it felt so like it was just such a nice break from like all of the studying and tests and everything like that, just to like show up to a room and like listen to music for 2 hours and just like talk to the void. It's not different from streaming like at all. It
Yeah.
feels very similar.
Yeah.
And so I had so much fun with it, but I was very intimidated by the soundboard and all of the equipment, and that was like the part of it that was really scary to me, and I was terrified I was going to mess it up. And someone was just like, well, it's actually pretty easy to learn. And I'm like, well, but I want to understand it. I don't just want to like show up and push a button. I want to know what pushing that button is actually doing behind the metal plate that's covering everything up. And so I switched majors into television radio production, primarily for radio. And in 2012, like radio was big, right? So I mean, like, of course, so many jobs in radio. And so that was when I started looking into more like film, media production in general. Online media was really starting to take off,
Yeah.
and so the idea of like a one-person shop for like all post-production was pretty attractive.
Yeah.
And I became like the audio person in
Oh,
in school.
nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
My husband is bringing
There's
me
the adorable
coffee. My
husband.
adorable husband that you can't see because of the Zoom blur, but and he makes great coffee, just like the best coffee. Um, and Yeah, so I just kind of became known as like the sound person, specifically the dialogue person, because I was the only person who was willing to like figure out how to make dialogue sound good if it was recorded in a bad environment or something like that. So that translated very well to audiobooks when I was looking for work that like I had a laptop,
Mhm.
I had sound recording software, if nothing else. And when I graduated from college, I took out a loan to start to get some equipment, just like a kind of mobile studio there, because I wanted to be able to keep doing it. And that was like my gig for a long time, was like recording podcasts or whatever. And I ended up meeting an audiobook narrator because my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, was at a computer repair shop. Like he was like an IT guy and did
Oh,
like home computer
perfect.
repair. Yeah, and a narrator came in panicking because she had a deadline 2 days from now on like a big book, and her computer crashed after she had recorded like 12 hours of this book that
Oh
was
my
due in 2 days. And she
gosh.
was like, I need my computer fixed. I need to see if I can get these files, but at the same time, like I have this crazy recording software that is so persnickety that if we change anything on this computer,
Oh,
it's going to completely destroy all my settings and I won't be able to finish the book on time. And he was like, I have a girlfriend who's an audio engineer and she has the software on her computer. Why don't we bring her in so she can restore all your settings when we fix your computer?
yeah.
And that was how I met. He's correcting me. We needed to make sure that when we updated the new version of Mac, it would also
Oh,
be compatible with Pro Tools, which
yep.
Pro Tools, my software is very persnickety. It's never what I recommend for narrators because it's like it does too much for just
Ah,
recording voice.
yeah.
Like it really it's what like film producers use to do like full
Oh,
film mixes
okay.
or like music, but it's very good. It is the industry standard, but it's overkill for sure. And
Yeah.
because of that, it has like too many settings that can easily get
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was how I met Holly Adams, who is one of my heroes. She is an incredible voice actor and actress in general, and she has narrated some incredible books. And I started doing post-production for her, so I would edit and proof all of her audiobooks. And at the time, I was just like, she is so good. Her characters are so amazing. I could never be this good at this. Like, this is a real actor right here. This is why I couldn't, make acting work in college, is because people like her exist, right?
Yeah.
Because she's incredible. Like, I highly recommend anyone like look up her books she's narrated. She's amazing. And just an incredible producer in her own right. But then she started recommending me to other people, and I learned that there were a lot more styles of narration. Not everything is as theatrical as like a Jeff Hayes or even what Holly was doing.
Yeah.
And so that learning that there was like a middle ground that you can also just like do more of just a reading style. Like even like Julia Whalen is one of the most respected narrators in the business, and she doesn't have a ton of characters. She just has like a really pleasant and genuine read of a story, more of a storytelling style as opposed to an acting style. And so once I started editing other audiobooks, I was like, huh, I could probably find a voice in the mix of all of this, like somewhere in the middle that is, theatrical, not completely over the top, like,
Mhm.
and so I auditioned for a few books and I got some and then I started narrating.
Yeah, and you were recording live on TikTok, and that's how I found you because I you kept showing up in my feed, and I'm watching you going, she's really good, and I need a new voice. The person who did the narration for the first two wasn't able to do it for the next two, and I thought, ooh, I can't have different in the middle. So I thought, okay, I got a little bit extra cash. Let me find somebody. And I sent you a direct message thinking that you were so popular you would never see it, let alone reply to me. And you completely floored me because you replied. I'm like, oh my God, she replied. And then you recorded 4 June Nash books. And I have people say to me, oh, your books are just so much better when I listen to the audio, which as a writer, you want to think, oh, that's insulting, but it's actually not because it your narration elevates my books, and that's all I want. I mean, I used to do screenwriting, and we produced a feature and several shorts, and to have those actors take my words and make them into something amazing that your eyes are glued to the screen watching them is amazing, and so you do that with my narration. I mean, with my book.
Thank you. I want to speak to the fact like your screenwriting comes through in the
Oh,
books really well
does it?
because your dialogue tells me so much about the characters without actually telling me about the characters. And I think when an actor reads dialogue like that, they're digging for all of the clues in the dialogue to know like should I read this character, right? And people with acting training, that's like part of the training is really dissecting every word to know the meaning behind it, like why it was chosen, and kind of gain inference into what who a character is. And especially with a first person book like that, you are so good
Oh,
at
thanks.
obfuscating the truth of what's actually happening through the lens of June Nash that as a reader, if you're not used to reading a screenplay or like trying to really like dive deeper into like, well, if the character's seeing this, what she's actually seeing is this, right? Like as an actor, those books are so fun as I get to do the homework, right? Like I really do. It's meaty. I get to like dive deep and like actually like it's all of the English degree, the theater background, like it's all of the training I
Mhm.
have that I've had to learn as a writer too. Not everybody has that much training.
No, they
Sometimes like you
don't.
have to yeah, sometimes you have to handhold people a little bit to like to let them know like this is what's actually happening versus what my character thinks is happening. Like the unreliable narrator as a
Yeah.
character as a storyteller. Um it takes it takes some real thought, you know? And I think cozy mystery is something that a lot of people like to turn their brain off when they read a cozy mystery. They don't like
Yeah.
to think is hard, but that's what makes it so fun as an audiobook because you're having the actor do some of that thinking for you.
Yeah.
So you do just get to kind of passively enjoy the story without having to do as much thinking. And there are some like one of my favorite books is Gideon the Ninth. I love that book. But trying to read it was so hard for me. Like trying to read the paperback because there's so many big words and I know them, but I gotta like think about it and I gotta and like all the names are really hard to pronounce and every time I read it I'm just like, oh man, how do you say that again? Like and in my head I have
Yeah.
to like dissect every sentence. But the audiobook is perfect. Like the tone and everything about it is so good. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about the accessibility of audiobooks
Yeah.
is that it lets people engage in slightly higher brow media um in a fun way and in a way that they can think about it more deeply if they want to, but it there isn't that high barrier of entry of like, okay, I really have to be present with every word sitting down and leafing through this paperback. And instead you can actually like let somebody else do some of that work for you. And it's nice. It's a nice break.
Oh, I love audiobooks. And when I go for walks in the morning, my husband talks to his brother every morning. And he has headphones on, so I can't hear his version. I can only hear him and not his brother.
Right.
So I only hear half the conversation. So I will put on an audiobook and tell him, just smack me if you need me to participate in the conversation because I'm not going to pay any attention to you because I need to hear the audiobook. Which it's kind of hard to. I'm listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl books right now, and it's hard to do that while I'm walking because any outside noises disturb the whole setting for me. I have to be in a very quiet room to get everything out of Jeff's narration because he is,
So
and I'm so
good.
glad I met him many years ago. I think when they first started doing dungeon crawlers, and I had no clue. I think it was just starting to pick up, and I didn't know who he was. Thank God, because I would have fangirled all over him because I just love his narration so
He's
much.
incredible.
So, and we talked for a long time and about everything but, audiobooks. So, I mean, he was just the sweetest, nicest guy. But I had to laugh because I was at Gen Con last year and I wore my Damn It Donut shirt. Now, Gen Con, the first year I went was 72,000 people. And the next year, I have no clue how many were there, but I'm wearing my Damn It Donut shirt, walking through huge crowds. One person, this is last year, one person knew what Dungeon Crawler Carl was. Most people either ignored my shirt or said, "What the hell is that?" One person came dancing over. We danced, we hugged. It was wonderful. We both loved the books. And this year,
Wow.
he's a speaker. And I'm thinking, y'all are late on the boat, you know?
And that's the crazy thing is that because like Dungeon Crawler Carl is one of the most successful indie published books of all time,
Yeah.
right? And like that, but that's the difference between trad and indie. It's the difference between like a runaway success with one group and a cultural revolution,
Yeah.
right? Like, and it is kind of wild because I was also early on the Dungeon Crawler Carl train. Like, I think I read the first book in it was right after Christmas of 22. So like all of 2023, I binged the whole series in like 2 weeks. What was out then, which I think was up to book 5. And yeah, the audiobooks. And I was just like, good Lord, like
Wow.
what is
Yeah.
this? And
Yeah.
I thought I was late to the train because I kind of was from an indie standpoint. But then to be like I've been telling people I had my book club read it that year, like in the fall of that year. I was like, you guys, like I need people on my level. Like you have to read this book. And then they were obsessed and they were telling, we're like, we're like prophets with our little with our little
Yeah.
Bibles, like going around, you need to hear the good word, like we're
Yeah. Word of mouth is
yeah,
huge. That
yeah,
is where, especially for indie, is where you become a runaway bestseller. And he was
yeah.
an overnight success. I mean, it took him a lot of years to build up to where that was, but I'm so excited that he's going to be a speaker there. And he's got all this huge following, and that's just amazing. And I'm really bummed that I'm not doing Deadwood this year. Not Deadwood. I'm not doing Gen Con this year because I went to Rewind Book Fair instead, which we both did, which was
We
back in
did.
April. It was an amazing event. If you're in Minneapolis or in Minnesota, anywhere. How big is Minnesota? Anyway, it's at the in
It's a
Minnesota.
big state, actually.
Is it a big state? I'm like, I
It's
used to
really
live in
big,
North
yeah.
Dakota. I used to live in North Dakota, and yeah, we went south, but we mostly went north because we were right near the Canadian border. So anytime we
Okay.
went anywhere, we went to Winnipeg, which is not the most exciting. And I know everybody in Canada's laughing. Winnipeg, oh my God, you poor thing, Winnipeg. We went to Toronto too. We would take the train and go around the Great Lakes and go up into Toronto, and I love
Oh,
Toronto.
nice.
Hi to Andy and Mel, my friends of ours that we're going on a trip with soon. I know they're listening. So anyway, I digress. But we decided not to do that because I only had so many frequent flyer miles to use to get to places,
Yeah.
and that was my choice. I could only do one or the second, and
Yeah.
make money, spend money. I had to go with make money. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was a great show. If they're going to do it again next year, they're doing it, I think, a little later, so it's
I hope
warmer.
so.
I think
I
she
hope
said it
so.
was later, so it'd be warmer. I hope so. It was so cold. We were
Yeah.
wrapped in
It
blankets.
was.
We had
It
hats
was
on. It was absolutely.
Yeah,
I know
it
I have
was
a
so funny because
picture.
last year the it wasn't the same event technically because the event split into two separate events. One that the brewery is hosting, and then Rewind is Adventure Awaits and their team. But last year it was like the hottest day of the year, and we were in another building that was like humid, and I mean it had to be like 110 degrees in there. It literally felt like a sauna, which is another Minnesota tradition, a proud Minnesota tradition. But so we were we were worried about our books curling from the heat and humidity there, whereas at this
Yeah.
one it was because it rained the night before and then it was 40 degrees, so we were all running fans to dry out the puddles on the floor, but at the same time it was freezing. So
Yeah, it was crazy. And
yeah,
the weather the Monday before the show was Saturday and Sunday, the 18th and 19th of April. That Sunday it was like 85 degrees.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
crazy. And then every day, because I got there early to spend some days with my daughter. So it was like 85 the day before I landed. And then every day it dropped like 7 degrees
yeah.
until Saturday when it was what, 45? It
If it
was,
even got up to that.
if it
I mean,
even,
it
yeah.
was, and I was mad because, like you said, and in Duluth, the delay in weather was actually like it was also warm in Duluth, but we got like an extra day of warm before it started getting colder. And for me, because Duluth is 3 hours north of Minneapolis, like
Oh,
two to
okay.
3 hours north. And so to me, I'm always like, oh, if I'm going south, it's going to be warmer,
You'd
right?
think, you'd think.
That's kind of you'd think, yeah. Minnesota is not that is not a guarantee. Like today, sure, it's going to be 68 in Duluth, high of like 68, whereas in the Twin Cities today is a high of 90. But it was colder in Minneapolis that weekend. Like Duluth, they were in the 70s that weekend, whereas Minneapolis was in the 40s. And so my husband and I we had on like very light jackets, and he actually knit me gloves. While we were
Oh,
sitting there
how
that weekend, he had his knitting with
sweet.
him.
Does he have a
We're
machine
both
or does he hand knit?
he hand knits. He is so good at it. He's incredible at it. He's finally knitting himself something, which is good for him because he'll knit people everything. But yeah, he knit me gloves on Saturday so I could wear them on Sunday.
Oh, that is so sweet. I used to have a knitting machine and I made one pair of gloves. They were green. I love them. And I'm one of those people that if someone says, "Hey, that's great. Can I have that?" I'll go, "Sure, you can have it." And I never made another
Oh,
pair. I was so mad at myself that I gave those gloves. I don't remember who I gave them to, but I must have liked them enough to give them my gloves. But and now I crochet. Um,
ooh,
so yeah, so I'm trying to learn. I used to crochet years ago, so I'm trying to get back into it again so that I can crochet some Cyrano dogs for the next Rewind book fair. And so, and it's a floppy dog pattern that I got, and it's like this tall. Can't see both my hands. It's like what 6, 7 inches tall, and it's floppy dog with a big nose because it's a greyhound. And then I want to put little collars on them and have the little tag so that it's got my QR code on one side and Cyrano's name on the other. And I thought I'm gonna
that's
do a
such a good
bunch of
idea.
those. Yeah, so that and I enjoy crocheting, and I have a broken wrist that's recovering. My wrist is so wonky. I broke my wrist.
Oh wow.
It's all well,
Yeah,
it's I
it's a
broke it right
little
here. I separated
okay.
the sections. Oh my God. So it back in December, I think like December 13th. So crocheting has helped this motion of,
Mm-hmm.
doing the needle. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so I was trying to relearn to crochet, and my lovely daughter sent me 3 woobles. If anybody knows what a wooble is, they're these adorable little crochet animals that you can make, and one of them actually is Spock. I think I've got him in here. Hang on, I'm gonna grab him.
That's amazing. I while you're getting that, I
Okay.
will say how I've taken up embroidery, and part of that hobby was I wanted to make all of the patches for Carl's jacket for my cosplay
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
I'm going to Lit RPG Con in July. And so
Oh,
I have other aspects of the cosplay, but I might just do the vest because I'm actually like really proud. I'm working on the back patch now. It's my last one because it's the biggest one. And I wanted to
oh,
make sure I like learned all of the techniques I'd need for it. But yeah, that's been really fun.
oh, that's
Actually, you can see my patches on the DCC wiki. The patches I've made are images on the DCC wiki now.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
we'll put that link in the show notes. So here's the
Awesome.
Wooble that the last Wooble that I'll be working on. So it's Spock. He's so cute. And then this is the second to last one. This is another dog.
Oh
I'm
my
trying to work
gosh.
on dogs. This is a Grinch's dog, Max. And then
Yes.
the one that I'm working on right now is in the other room, and it's a yellow Labrador. I forget its name, but it's a yellow Labrador, and I had a yellow
Oh,
Labrador for years. So it's been fun to do, and it's all techniques that I had forgotten how to do, and I'm relearning. So it's been really good. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, we're writers. We spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer, and you do in front of a computer when you're narrating.
yeah.
And it's just, you need something to get yourself away. Now, we need to also talk about you're not just a narrator, you are also an author. So, so tell
Yes.
everybody about the kind of books that you write.
So when I started out writing, I wanted to write women's fiction, like contemporary romantic women's fiction. I wanted, because I was narrating a ton of romance that was very like genre romance, and it was all about the relationship, and I kind of wanted like a break from that being the plot and to have like a plot plus a romance, right? And I had read some, but I really, I got up the gumption and I was just like, I think I'm gonna try writing a book. Like a lot of these authors that I narrate for publish independently. So like I could maybe potentially publish a book independently, right? I don't need to query, which was the most scary thing, for
Yeah.
me. Like I already audition for work. I'm already like putting myself out there on a daily or weekly basis to try and like get work, and I have to deal with a lot of rejection all the time. And
Yeah.
so I'm just like I don't really want a second job where I'm just dealing with rejection after rejection. Um and so I decided to write a book, and I shared it with some friends, and I was just like, is it good? Like, would you read it? Like, would you buy it in a store? And they were just like, actually, yeah, like Cassie, like this is pretty good. Like you
Nice.
like when is it coming out? And so like that was really cool. So I that was when I started publishing, and when you get bit by the bug, when you like put out a book and
Yeah.
people do actually read it, I was very lucky. I know a lot of people put out their first book and it releases to crickets, right? But I don't like doing things halfway. I commissioned a cover. I worked with an artist. I had done some research, so I knew that like this is what contemporary women's fiction romance covers look like. I want it to
Mhm.
look like that. I'm gonna hire an artist who's done covers like this before. And so my first book was Betting on the House. It still has the same cover it had when it released, and it did quite well. So I started writing more books, and I think I had like a freshman surge on Amazon. Like a few people bought it, so Amazon pushed it to people, and it was my first book, and Amazon wanted to get me addicted, so it did the job. My second book did not do as well. My third book did worse. My fourth book did worse than that, right? And then I did a shared world book where I was like, well, maybe if I collaborate with some other authors, I'll get some more buy-in.
Yeah.
And that book didn't do great on release. However, since moving to Minnesota, because it was a sports romance, but the sport was cornhole, because I can't take myself seriously, and I like having fun. So I wrote a cornhole sports romance,
That's awesome.
and it's fun, right? And it was fake dating. Like I put all my favorite tropes in it because at that point I was pretty burnt out, and I was just like, I don't get it. Like my first book did good. Why aren't any of my other books doing well? And I hadn't had another thing work, and it wasn't like I was making a ton of money, but like people did care about the first one, but no one was caring about the others. And so I put just all of my favorite things in foul play because I just wanted it to be fun again. I wanted writing to be fun again. And I really challenged myself as a writer. I was like, well, what do I like to read in books? Like what keeps me engaged? What keeps me reading? And a lot of that is humor. So I have a lot of humor in there. I especially the first chapter, I think is some of my best writing that I've ever done, where I really polished the hell out of the first chapter of that book because I didn't want people to put it down.
Yeah.
I wanted people to keep reading. And that book has seen new life from moving to Minnesota and selling books at live events because people in Minnesota get it.
Yeah.
There are small
Yes.
towns in Minnesota
Those are your
where people play
people.
cornhole and know
Yes.
their neighbors and are very, like, the community vibes in Minnesota match the
Yeah.
book. Small
Yeah.
towns actually are a thing in Minnesota where like everyone knows each other and they're in each other's business. And I think that's what makes us, especially this year, has helped us be so resilient is we do have strong communities, right? So the that book has done very well here, which also like encouraged me to write more books that take place in Minnesota. But I also was kind of burnt out on contemporaries because the contemporary world is pretty exhausting right now. So I
Yeah.
started
It's a
writing
lot.
fantasy and paranormal romance. It's still contemporary. It takes place like now or in the 90s in Minnesota. But there are monsters involved. And my first one was a Kraken shifter in Lake Superior. And I have two books with that, which is a blast and super spicy, very, very spicy. Similar in the vein of like Katie Robert, I would say, is probably the and Kimberly Lemming.
Mhm.
If Katie Robert and Kimberly Lemming, had a baby, me. Like irreverent and silly, but also like deep lore and very spicy. And then I just put out my Minotaur, my first Minotaur book,
That's
and
right.
that
I knew
also
I'd
takes
seen
place in
that.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's very fun. I had got a ton of art commissioned because I launched it on Kickstarter, and because of that, I was able to raise enough money to be able to like put it out the way I wanted to, which was like with a ton of character art and fun bookmarks and stickers. And so like
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. I over designed it. But I had a blast doing it and I love the artist I found. She was incredible. She and like every time I raised another $500, I was like, "Hey, I can do another commission." And she's like, "Amazing."
I'm doing a Kickstart myself in Kickstarter. Is it Kickstarter or Kickstart?
Yeah, Kickstarter. Yeah.
Kickstarter, yeah, because my husband drinks Kickstart and the
Oh.
online raising money thing is Kickstarter. So yeah, I always get the two. I'll say, "Do you want me to buy you more Kickstarter?" And he'd be like, "What?" It's Kickstart. Like, oh, okay, sorry. But I'm doing one for our world building and fantasy prompt book. We did a combination.
Nice.
We have an absolutely gorgeous cover. If you are online, I will pop the cover over the top of this. This doesn't go into it doesn't go into Kickstarter until probably after July 4th.
Okay.
Um, but how did you was it your first Kickstarter? I mean,
It
how
was.
did you
It
so did you
was.
did you have I know you want to have your cover. I did one years ago for our feature film. We did not raise all of our funds, but they gave us all the emails of everybody. I don't know if they still do that. So I just emailed
Oh.
everybody. I just emailed everybody and said, it didn't reach its. Do you still want to? And we got all the money from everybody. Went, sure, I'll still give you the money. So
Oh wow.
we raised everything we needed to pay for our insurance because we filmed. We had to get $1 million of insurance because we filmed in public locations. So
Oh, okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to have that. You want to have that. That was our biz. That and food were our biggest expenses.
Craft services, man. You got to feed everybody.
Oh my God. And at one point I had to tell the craft services people, you got to go lighter because you guys are feeding everybody with such delicious food that everybody's taking a nap and we're not getting anything done in the afternoon. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so when you started with your Kickstarter and you wanted to do all this extra art, did you have one piece of art to start so that people saw the kind of art? How much art did you start it
Y-
with so that people got an idea so you could keep raising an additional, keep hitting
Yeah.
extra levels?
I had the cover. And the cover I got a little creative with. So I whenever I commission a cover now, I try to get a PNG, which is like a transparent background file of just the characters as they are on the front of the book, and the background as separate images. So it's not all one piece.
Yeah.
And I do that because I end up putting everything out in multiple formats, right? So that way I can resize the characters over the background for the audiobook because that will look different from the
Yeah.
ebook, which will look different from the paperback, right? So like
Yeah.
I get like paperback sized background art that I can manipulate for the ebook however I want, and then manipulate again for the audiobook because that's going to be a wider thing. And then the characters I can resize and fit however I want. So because of that, I kind of got like three images out of my cover that I could play
Okay.
with. And then I also got, because it was a pretty inexpensive add-on for the artists themselves, I got chibis done of the characters, which are like little cute, cutesy, honestly like Woobles versions of my characters, right? Like little
Oh.
fat, chubby, big head, tiny body,
Oh,
like
okay.
little cartoon versions. And I mean, cartoon, they're illustrated regardless, right? But like
Yeah.
more cartoony versions.
Yeah.
And that was great because that I had the chibis. I put the chibis on the paperback background with the banner, with the like corner banner when it got funded very quickly for my Kickstarter cover. I was able to keep changing the Kickstarter banner with the different art assets. And at
Oh,
first it was
okay.
just the paperback mock-up on a plain color background.
Yeah.
But then when we fundraised so quickly, so the other thing that I did that I think helped me play with the algorithm a little bit for Kickstarter is I set the fundraising goal very low.
Yeah. That's what I've been.
Lower than it would actually cost to fulfill.
Yeah. I've pledged for Althea Sharp's book, Kickstarter for Authors, when it came out
Mhm.
last August.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things her and Russell, I forget how
Yes.
to say his last name. I mean, I have
Noldy,
met.
yeah, Russell Noldy, and
Yeah.
his book was my Bible for
Yeah.
Kickstarter. Like
Yeah.
I read it front to cover. I had bookmarks everywhere. I had sticky
Yep.
notes all over the pages of like, remember this, don't forget this, don't forget that. And even so, I forgot. Like it's so informative. It's so good. Even now, like
Yeah.
not much has changed. That like
Yeah.
it is still a
Yeah.
very good guide.
Yeah.
And so I set his recommendation, and I saw a talk with him um at Author Nation before it was Author Nation, where
Yeah.
where we
I think
met.
that where we
Yeah,
met. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Because he
where we
was
met,
awesome. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yours should still be up on Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, the project is there. It's archived on Kickstarter, so you can still find it. It was for Milking with the Minotaur, my
Yeah.
Minotaur book. And I have to say, I underestimated how good Kickstarter is as a discovery tool for
Yeah.
people to find you. Because once I funded, which I was able to, I had a couple of super fans who basically funded the whole thing in the
Oh,
first couple of
nice.
minutes,
Nice.
but the
Oh,
goal was only $500, right?
yeah.
So my highest tier was 100. So I really only needed five people to get my highest tier to fund the whole thing. Um, and so being able to get that like fully funded, and then I could put the banner like funded in 1 hour, right? Like I could have
Yeah.
that on the cover of the
Yeah.
page to
That's,
be like,
yeah.
people want this. And then
Yeah.
that helped. And when it hit three times its goal in the first day, which I wasn't expecting to be
Yeah.
perfect. I was expecting it to take the whole 2 weeks to, it was either 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I was expecting it to take the whole time to reach 2,000.
Yeah.
And I got that on day two,
Wow.
which I was not expecting. And
Yeah.
then I, so other people started finding out about it. I was part of a monster romance Discord, and I had avoided sharing it with them because I didn't want to like ask for charity, right?
Yeah.
But when it was doing well, I was like, hey, so I'm doing a Kickstarter and people seem to be into it. If you think your fans might be into it, here's the link. Like, please don't feel obligated.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Leon Riley who shared it with her newsletter, and I almost doubled
Wow.
my fundraising after that because she is incredible.
Yeah.
She is a mainstay of the monster romance, like very very niche in monster romance, but like she is just one of those hardworking, putting out a book, like 10 books a year, just
Oh,
always,
nice.
and like,
Yeah.
but like she writes them, she's done the homework, like she's so good. And so she is an asset to our community that is not her, people don't sing her praises enough because she really is amazing. Um, and so that was great. I got a few mentions and shares from other monster romance authors like Emily Twinette and stuff like that that also helped out. And so that was really cool. And I think they were happy to see because there weren't really monster romances on Kickstarter yet. There had been like one or two maybe. And
Yeah.
I don't think they had like, they might have met their goal, but they didn't exceed it.
Yeah.
Um, they might have actually raised more money than I did, but because of the way I structured it, mine felt bigger. It
Yeah.
felt like a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Because to fundraise over 800% of your goal by the end of the
Yeah.
thing feels like a huge deal. And for me it was. This is the most
Oh
money I've
yeah.
ever made on a book ever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that, like, and my husband asked afterward, he was just like, "Did you actually make a profit on this?" And I'm like, "Oh no."
Oh
I'm
no.
like, not at all. And I'm like, all of this stuff definitely cost more than I fundraised for it. And I'm like, by the time I sell all of the books I printed from it, yes, I
Yeah.
will have made a modest profit.
Yeah.
And he's like, but was it like worth your like he's like, but did you pay yourself for your time or anything? Like I hand painted edges. I did like I put so much time into this. And I was like, oh no, not at all. And I'm like, but I wasn't expecting to make a profit this time around.
Yeah.
Um that is a luxury and a privilege, and I will acknowledge
Yeah.
that. Like the fact that I could do an experiment like this and not have to make a profit is something that not a lot of people can do, because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of work at a time of year where I don't have a lot of work. My work is very seasonal. Like
Yeah.
January, February are usually I don't have any narrative going on because people don't really schedule during the holidays, which is when they schedule January and February work.
Oh.
Like the narrators who are booked 8 months to a year in advance, the big names, sure, they have work in January and February, but most of the mid-list people like me really don't have a lot of work then. So that was when I was fulfilling my Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So I had, and the other part of that is like when I do a book release, I like to have a sticker. I like to have artwork. I like to have stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm always going in the red for every book release because I
Yeah.
like paying artists and I like having the nice things, and I want
Yeah.
my book to look pretty.
Yeah.
I am that person, right? And so I put a ton of work into it, and I invest a lot of money that I don't always have. I'm not great with
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. And so to have the Kickstarter where I'm just like, "Oh wow, I had the money to do that right away." And I did some of it in advance. So like I probably spend about 1,500 with every book launch on like art assets and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
so I had already spent that. But I earned that back with Kickstarter. I earned enough to pay my artist to do 4 more pieces for it.
Yeah.
I paid out of pocket for the printing anyway, because I was gonna do it anyway. And then I fulfilled the Kickstarter and I still had, so I did a 150 copy print run.
Mhm.
And I said it was exclusive. I'm never gonna print this edition of it again. And I will
Yeah.
stand by that.
Yeah.
I have 7 left that I am allowed to sell. I'm
Wow.
keeping 5 that I didn't mess up exactly, but like I numbered them all with like a number stamp, and you tick up the number. And I didn't realize that the number stamp also had fractions on it for some reason. So I have like a couple of like, and when I was spinning, because like the number that's being stamped is the opposite of the number that you see when you on the wheel of the
Yeah.
when you adjust it. So I had a few like misnumbered ones that are
Oops.
like number 41 and a half. Like like doesn't make
Those are
sense.
worth a
Um,
fortune because
well,
they're
so
rare.
Right. So I have 5 of those that like the only thing that's wrong with it is the number that I stamped on it. So those are like if someday I do get super famous, those will be the ones that I can auction for charity, right? Like that's what I'm thinking in my head is like I'm
Yeah.
gonna hang on to those
Yeah.
as like the weird misprints that like someday maybe if this grand experiment of mine works and I become world famous and I'm the next Matt Dinneman, that will be worth, that can raise thousands of dollars for, a
Yeah.
children's hospital or something like that, and that'll be great. But so I'm gonna hang on to those 5, and I have
Yeah.
7 left that I'm allowed to sell. And with that, I have absolutely made back my investment. Um, but I'm amazed, like the special edition thing, like at live events, those are the ones that sell. Like I'm already thinking, I'm like, I need a actual special edition that I'm allowed to print more copies of.
Yeah, yeah, the next and when you do it again in the future, people will be able to look and see that you funded 800%
Right.
and it's going to give you more street cred and it's going to be
Yeah.
better. And yeah, you need to print like an extra 50 that you can take to events because that's what we plan on doing is printing extra that will be sold only at events, and this version will not be
Yep.
available anywhere but on Kickstarter and at
Yep.
live events.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And so because I had to ship out, I think I had 66 backers that actually got the book itself. Um, Maybe that math is wrong, but 66 backers for the physical book. And then I had almost 80 left over that I could sell at events. And yeah, and they're almost gone.
That's awesome.
I'll have my last ones at Midwest Bookish Fest, and I'm hoping that they sell out. So
Did you have them at Rewind?
I did.
And
Yeah.
it's fun. I walked, I think I talked about this last week or the last show. I walked all over, well, ran because it was so crowded and we were in the first row. So people coming through, it was just like a steady stream for 2 full days. And we were near the famous authors who were invited. They were at the end of my row. So we had a lot of people walking. I really hope I get the same location again next time. It was just the best
Yeah,
location ever.
there were some less good locations in that space. You were fortunate to have that spot for
I was
sure.
very, very lucky. So I had a break and I would run all around looking for you. And I met, oh my God, I'm going to say her name wrong. She was on the show last time and her book is really, really good. It is called Still Chosen. She was across from you. So her
Oh,
husband was holding up the sign saying, a woman goes on a
oh,
trip with a cat or
oh, oh.
something like
Right,
that.
right, right, right. Right. I forget.
Yes. Oh my
Yes.
God. What is her? Oh my God.
Well,
I'm so,
she didn't have a sign. She didn't like that was there were so many authors at so many points of their career
yeah.
at Rewind. And so like you had ones like there was someone by you who and I saw her at Fables and Flames, which is another Minnesota event, like a romantasy gala. I saw her last year and she was just getting started. And
Yeah.
so to see her beside you with the full book cover, like illuminated backdrop book covers and her incredible art, like she had a double size booth. She has exploded and I'm so proud of her. She's amazing and she's such a lovely human. But there were authors like that. And then also authors with just like their grandmother's dining room tablecloth on their
Yes.
table
Yes.
and a doily and like their stack of books. And no
Yeah.
signage, no branding. And she was
Yep.
one who just like this is her first book. She doesn't have any branding yet. She's doing it for the first time.
Yeah, and
And
I had to
so
look up her name. Her name is Stephanie G. Olson, and she was on episode 149 of this show. So it's the last show before this one. But yeah, but I think that people, if you are just starting out and it's your first show, do not spend $200 on a stand-up banner. Do not spend tons of money. I would recommend that you have a black tablecloth that goes all the way to the floor in a rectangle that has the back that you can lift up to put your books underneath. Don't get the ones that cling to the table because you can't hide anything underneath it.
yeah,
Those are awful. And then
yeah.
have
And
a,
they it looks like you're trying to do a budget wedding. Like
it does.
it doesn't look right. It's the
It
wrong
looks
vibe.
bad. Yeah.
I'm definitely a proponent for a table runner with your
As,
name
as
on
that was
it.
my next one.
Yep.
Table runner. Um, there are all kinds of places online that sell them. Definitely get one of those. And you can
And
do,
I'm an advocate for the 4 foot wide table banner, I think
yes,
is the sweet spot because you will have 4 foot tables at
yes, I
events
have 60
sometimes,
inches. Mine's
but
60 inches,
you will also have 8 foot tables. And a
which
four
we
foot
did at
runner
Rewind.
looks yeah, and a 4 foot runner looks great on everything in between. I have
Yep.
a 5 foot and it's too big for some
Oh,
events. But I
yes.
had a 3 foot that I could do everywhere, but it looked a little small on an 8 foot table. So
Yeah.
I think 4 foot is the sweet spot
It
for a table runner.
seriously is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I have ebooks that I sell, ebooks and audio, which is Cassandra does 4 of them. And on the top of the spinners, there's a little slit where you can put a sign. And so I get 11 by 17 signs. So if you don't have a banner behind you, you could do something like an 11 by 17 sign. When I first started and had one book, I did several shows with one book only. And I had a jumbo 2 foot by 3 foot on foam board that they made for
Yeah.
me. And excuse me, I had those I got from Office Depot. And I forget how much it
And they're
was, but
so affordable.
they are,
Like printing on foam board.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
like send in an
awesome.
order to your local print shop for
Yep,
printing on foam board. It
yep,
is sturdy. It looks great. It
yep.
always looks good. And it's so affordable. Like I'll typically do like a $30 Office Depot print run before a big event just to zhuzh up my table of
Yeah.
anything missing. I this past event or at Rewind I had like laminated paper that I had on my various stands. I'm doing foam board next time. The laminated flops, but the foam board
It
doesn't.
does. Foam board is
Yeah,
awesome. I love
yeah.
foam board. Now, what is your next show?
I am going to be at Midwest Bookish Fest, which is also in Minneapolis. Most of my events are because I'm in Minnesota, and
Minnesota, yeah.
it's not hard to travel, but it's not profitable usually most of the time to like go, around the
Yeah.
country for events, and I'm not quite at the place where I will make my money back if I travel. I have a couple of East Coast events later this year. All of them are on my website at cassandramedcalf.com/events. You can see everywhere I'm going, but Midwest Bookish Fest is the next one. I'm very excited about it. The organizers are incredible. They also have some really big names that are going to be there.
When is that going to be?
That is June 19th to the 21st. And
Oh,
it is at the Mall of America Hilton
really?
in
Oh,
Bloomington,
cool.
Minnesota. Yeah, it is literally across the street from the Mall of America.
Oh, shoot. What day is
Come
it?
come
It's
to it is June 19th to the 21st.
I'm doing
Everyone should
Deadwood.
come. Everyone should do it.
And I'm going to miss you by just a couple days because I arrive in Minneapolis on the 8th and I'm back to Minneapolis on the 15th and leave on the 16th in the afternoon.
Oh,
So I'm so bummed because we're staying at the Holiday Inn right next to the mall. So
oh yeah, yeah. So you're I think on the other side of the road.
yeah,
Like yeah,
yeah.
so
So
exactly, yeah.
I'm bummed that I will miss you. Yeah, and
No, extend your stay. Extend your stay a few days. Come
oh,
hang
I already
out.
have I already have
Dinner
my
with me and
airline ticket and
Andy.
everything.
Ah,
Oh.
no.
So yeah, it's and for Rewind, my daughter lives in Minneapolis and she's like very close to the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
So it was just perfect. She was like, "Oh, stay with me," which was perfect because I couldn't have afforded, and I used free airline miles to get there, and I stayed with her. And so Rewind only cost me the $150 for the table for the 2 day table, which was an amazing amount. $150 for two
Yeah.
days. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Minnesota is, I gotta say, like as a self-published author, I really tried to make it work in New York, but Minnesota is so great because first of all, there is that community, and so like once you start meeting people, you start making actual friends, and we're all very supportive of each other. And then also, Minnesota is the most well-read state in the country. We have the highest number of PhDs per capita, and we are one of the most well-read populaces in the country. So like people buy books, people read books in
Yes.
Minnesota, and so it was so there are book fairs every weekend throughout the year. Like I could do an event every weekend if I wanted to in this state, and I would sell books at all of them. And at the end of July, I'm doing Fable Book Con in York, Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool. I've heard of that one.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited. I hope it does well. I had a fan on my Discord tell me about it and said that I should look into it. So I did, and I was able to get in, which is great. But I'm staying with a cousin who lives nearby, and I'm a little nervous because they're on the more religious side of my extended family,
Oh
and they're
dear.
very nice and supportive of me, but I haven't really like told them what I write. So
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
keep
so
them all in the books and keep them
I'm
all
gonna
just,
keep all the books in the car. I'm not gonna unpack at their house. I'm flying in to stay with my parents in Virginia, which is not too far, and then I'm gonna borrow one of their cars to bring all the stuff up to Pennsylvania, and then stay with my cousin over the weekend, and then go back to Virginia. Because my parents know what I write and they're okay with it.
yeah.
Dad finally figured it out when he asked. He's like, "Is it like the movie Shape of Water that was really big a few years ago?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad,
Yes.
actually, it's
Yes.
exactly like that."
Yes.
And he's like, "Huh." Okay. And I'm like, cool, Dad. You know what? I wasn't expecting you to get it at all, but you figured it out, and I'm proud of you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, my mom would always say to me, "Where's the love? Where's the love?" And she'd say it like that. My poor mom had dementia for about 5 years, and it was hard. And so I would read her I would read her romance books. The spicier the better because she loved them. And she couldn't see real well because she had cataracts. And I would read Dawn Dougal's books. If anybody reads Dawn Dougal books, she's
Okay.
on TikTok. Her books are really good. It's women who are in their 40s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Dawn is hysterical. I love her. her TikToks. And anyway, so I would read these to my mom, and that was just. But always she'd say to me, she would read my June Nash books and go, "Where's the love?" So sorry, Mom, but mine are all action adventure. June doesn't have time to stop and kiss anybody. There's just no time. They're
And when
48
she
hours.
tries, she gets, caught up in a whirlwind. So,
Yeah, yeah,
the one
yeah.
time she tries to take a break and maybe have a fun sleazy vacation, she ends up getting swirled up in some controversy because of course she does.
Yeah,
Because she's
yeah,
June Nash. Yeah, that's what
yeah. And
happens
it,
to her.
and I still get people that write me and say, "Are June and Morgan getting together?" It's like I think that would ruin the series if June got together with Morgan.
It needs to be like the very last book, if it ever is, and
Yeah,
it's a fade to black at the very end.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't see how it could really work any other way, the way you tell
yeah,
the story. But I
yeah,
do
and
I do like their banter. I love and but
they're fun.
that's the thing is like when you have like a mystery or I see it a lot with like police procedural series, like when you have like the detective that you follow through, there is that will they won't they character.
Yeah,
But like once they get together, it's like, well,
it ruins
I'm
it.
not
Yeah,
as interested in the story. Like I'm like I don't know, like
yeah,
the tension helps keep the through line going.
yeah,
If you pay off too early, then it's not fun anymore.
yeah. And they have enough times where they end up, in naked in bed together and various things like that. So, and he's always offering. He always offers, and I think he told her in one book, "I'm a guy. Will sleep with any willing woman." So, but I wanted to make sure that he was polite, and every time she said no, he was like, "Okay," and dropped it and didn't bring it up again that book. So, because I don't want him to be a jerk. But
Yeah.
but yeah, they're fun. It's a fun dynamic. I really like them. And yeah, you're saying January and February you don't have a lot to do. So I'm thinking,
Typically, yeah.
can I have the next book ready for narration
Please do.
in January or
I
February?
would love
I don't
that.
know.
I
I've
would
got an
love that.
I've got another series I'll tell you about when we're off here because I'm not talking about it yet. That I'll have you narrate. That's another cozy. This one is a cat, so
Oh,
instead of a
fun.
dog. So I love cats. I grew up with them, but my husband is deathly allergic,
Aw.
so I can't be around cats. I mean, I can be, but then I come home and it's like I got to shower and change my
Right.
clothes and all that before he can
Yeah.
approach me. And my neighbor has a cat that I go over and Arlo is so awesome. He just comes over running meow 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 meow, and he's so excited to see you. And I'll pick him up and he'll look at me like, "Why are you holding me? Put me down right this minute. I'm gonna freak out any second." I always pick him up though, and it's like, "Arlo, I'm holding you." Anyway, so but yeah, so I'll talk to you about that one when we're off. But okay, so you have a show coming up soon. You have a website. Do you have a? Are you taking on audiobook clients?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
always, always. And I'm fortunate in that I have enough work that I am not starving. But I always have gaps in my calendar. So like yeah, I am not booked out much right now. I'm not worried,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you have a book that you want to get done before the end of the year, like please contact me. Like I have room in my schedule. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And your website will have the links in the show notes. We'll have any other links that we talked about, hopefully. If we're not, just drop me a line and say, where the hell is the link you talked about? Anyway, so so thank you so much for coming on today. And everybody needs to check her out. And I will throw a little teaser from one of the June Nash books into the front of of the intro. Um, Maybe when June picks her mother up from the hospital in the very beginning of How to Sex Your Snake, because I love her mother so much. Her mother was my mother, so
Her mother is a lot
yeah,
is a lot of like that generation of mother. I feel
yeah,
like I yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. She was, yeah. My mother was a piece of work,
Yeah.
serious piece of work. So anyway, okay. Thank you so much for coming on
Thank
today, and
you.
yeah, everybody needs to check out Cassandra's work. Everything that we talked about is down in the show notes. If there's something I missed, please let me know. But otherwise, go check out her books. And don't forget, just for 2 weeks after this show airs, the audiobooks will be 50% off that she narrates. So go have a look at those. Grab at least one because she's just so great. She's a great narrator. You'll thoroughly enjoy them. I've just been so lucky in the narrators that I've chosen for my series. Rebecca Brokaw-Sands does my Amy Verth series. She is amazing. And Cassandra's just as amazing. So I've just been really, really lucky. So thank you for hanging out with us today and listening to the show. And I will see you next time. And until then, go read a good book or go listen to one. The Books Cube theme music was written by Laura Lynn Hardy. She performed the vibraphone. Billy Tyke Miller performed percussion. And it was recorded at Mills Kids Recording in Huntsville, Alabama.